as it turns out, celibacy and enlightenment, they actually go hand in hand. They actually feed into each other. They're perfect for each other. And why? You know why? Well, first of all, if you want to raise your consciousness, a great spiritual practice is celibacy, straight up. But what's also interesting is, if you want to be celibate, how are you going to get there? How in the world is celibacy going to be appealing to you? Well, the way that we get there is we raise our consciousness, right? But how are you going to get even there? Well, the honest answer is probably promiscuity, which will lead to suffering, which will lead to contemplation, introspection, and then higher consciousness. Now, let's say you're celibate, and you're also doing spiritual work. Now you realize, you're doing it, you are it. It's when you are celibate and you start to see things from this new frequency. You start to see that manifesting things is easier. Synchronicities happen easier. Higher vibrational states happen easier. Happiness is easier. Awakening is easier. Having a higher state of consciousness is easier. But let's go back to the question, why is this happening? You'll ask yourself this, most likely. And the answer that you will get, man, is this. It's because you're integrous. You're whole, you're one. You're practicing celibacy and you're going for enlightenment, right? Because they feed into each other, man. They make it, enlightenment is way easier when you are celibate. Firstly, on an energetic level, you're way purer. Understand, the enlightened state is crystal clear and clean and pure. You feel like you are just a perfect outpouring of the universe. You're an expression of the universe. You're so it. I like to say that occasionally. Something is it. Something is totally it. It's God. It's it. I might say sex. It can be it, but for most people, it's not it. For me, when I meditate, I'm like, that's it. Nowadays, when I'm practicing celibacy, I'm like, oh wow, dude, that's it. But even then, that's just one level of it. Really, what you want to happen is you want to practice celibacy, and you want to use the practice to take you to even higher levels of it. And when I say it, again, I'm just sort of condensing language to try and say God, because God, it's so, you can't even put it into words. That, of course, I use a small little word because we're trying to just encapsulate it. You can't, regardless. When you are celibate, it will support you in your spiritual work. It will support you in raising your consciousness. It will support you, in particular, with enlightenment work. Now, a big part of enlightenment work is insight. Having insight. And insight is where you're chilling, you're hanging out. And because you're so still, you have the space to go inward and to ask questions, right? We get insights when we ask a question. And from this place, you might have an insight. You might have a small packaged realization about something. And you might ask, why was that so easy? Why does that insight feel not only so true, because of your intuition, of course, but why did it happen so effortlessly? And what you'll see is that your entire vibration, the level of consciousness that you're at, is making this fluid. When we are celibate, we're doing so many things. One of my favorites, as I'm saying here, is we make having insights easier. And when we have lots of insights, and we start to reflect and really contemplate these insights that we're having from the universe, from our contemplation, we start to unlock little things and doors and all sorts of stuff. And you start to understand this bigger picture thing, this metaphysical thing. You start to piece together this bigger web of knowledge and understanding. And it's not really knowledge. This is a really good thing to see. Knowledge might be something, you could say it might be something that you've read in a book. Maybe something you've heard. That might be knowledge. But what we're looking for really is, again, it's insight, it's realization, and it's understanding. Some people like to say understanding is like a knowledge thing. I'm going to say here that true understanding, with a capital U, meaning absolute understanding, is understanding of consciousness, or understanding at the consciousness level. So it's that insight level, right? And this is what's possible when you're practicing celibacy, you're doing enlightenment work, and it's all just working for you. Now, my invitation for you is, whatever you're doing with your practice of whether it be retention or full-blown celibacy, genuinely, go to the next level. Take it a bit more seriously, because when you do that, you will gain spiritual benefits. You'll have these insights. You'll have an increase in vibration. You'll have an easier time living a spiritual life. It'll just be easier for you. And what we're doing here is we're making things easy for ourselves. Most people, they're treading the path of least resistance. They're trying to make things easy, but they're just choosing the easy route right away. That's nonsense. That's BS. You know you're smart enough to be like, let me delay some gratification. Let me practice something spiritual and then reap a greater and bigger reward. That's what we're doing here. We're making things in our lives easier because we're getting out of our own way, we're being disciplined, and then we're letting through this higher consciousness, which is just doing all the work for us, right? That's what this is about, man. Remember and understand, not all of us are going to be practicing celibacy to this very, very high level. Some of us might be doing retention. Some of us might be in a relationship and we're just, you're just happy with releasing, but maybe you're just not using PMO and that's good for you. It doesn't matter what level of celibacy you're practicing. Understand what you will want, and what you definitely do want to be doing is the spiritual work, is the enlightenment work, is the raising of your consciousness. And I say this because no matter where you are, no matter what you're going through, I want you to understand that this is what you want. And you can try other things and you'll see that they're just dissatisfactory. They just don't really do it for you. But then when you hop on the spiritual path, you start meditating, you start doing yoga, you start awakening, you're like, dude, I'm really starting to feel a bit happier. So that's your signal. And if you want some help with just speeding this entire process up, I do offer one-to-one coaching. We can level you up incredibly fast. I really genuinely don't know many other people with the same sort of understanding that I have. And that means, we can use that. Awesome. We'll call it there. Lots of love, my friend. And as always, peace.